The technical aspects of artificial intelligence continue to increase at an amazing rate. If you keep even a tangential eye on the research and the applications being developed, they're quite transformational. Everything from Alibaba being able to predict its customers' orders to AIs which can run entire sections of a company by themselves, such as supply management, to the more visible examples, beating humans at classic board games and modern video games alike, to being able to interpret a shadow into human gesture and discover information in a picture that you would not even think was present. These representations of the power of AI are incredible. But when someone says artificial intelligence, this is a distinct meaning which does not really correspond to how we understand AI in the world today. And why is that? It's because the practical uses of AI, at least those which are within scope of being achievable in a near future, are not those which emulate human intelligence, but rather those which accomplish a certain task. Those are the items which can be demonstrated, can be proven to be advancing. Those are the items which get funded, whether academically or in a research institute or a lab within a company. And so we have a very stark divergence of what it means to have an AI. And therefore the future of what an AI is and how artificial intelligence will progress is uncertain. Certainly many experts are both simultaneously amazed and concerned by what AI is doing and what AI is becoming. There are applications which we have never imagined that are now taking place. And the ability of machines that implement these AIs to help us make good decisions, to inform us, to take drudge work away from the human equation, these things are amazing and wonderful. But at the same time, AI seems to run away on its own. The research is worthy, but the application is uncertain. We already have debates in society about whether AIs are created with intrinsic biases. We have concerns about unethical AI. We have concerns if AI will make poor decisions because the data that it is trained on is itself incomplete in some way, or that we simply will not predict how an AI will think. And we ourselves as humans will fail to think we will rely too heavily on these AIs. And this is a very real danger. We have come from viewing artificial intelligence as the more literal interpretation of that term, an intelligence which is reconstructed, that we are attempting to develop an intelligence outside of our own. And we have this divergence in reality from that theoretical goal. And the concerns that go along with this are typified by two popular examples or thought experiments. The first of these is the paperclip maximizer. The paperclip maximizer is a theoretical machine, an artificial intelligence, whose goal is to create as many paperclips as possible. And being an AI, it is given significant latitude in achieving this goal. Well, one thing that this machine might realize is that humans change their minds and will sometimes turn off machines which they do not want anymore. If the paperclip maximizer were to be turned off, it could no longer create paperclips, and this would be counterproductive to the goal of making paperclips. Therefore, the paperclip maximizer would be better off if there were no humans. Likewise, the human body contains many elements which could be turned into paperclips. Thus, from the paperclip maximizer's plausible point of view, the goal of maximizing paperclips can best be achieved by getting rid of humans. Now, this is not supposed to be a literal example or even a highly plausible outcome, but it is intended to demonstrate how a singular focus of a machine on a goal can produce results in ways that would not be foreseen and would not be beneficial, even if the theoretical stated goal was beneficial. We want many paperclips. We do not want to get rid of humans in order to have many paperclips. This is an intelligence, an artificial intelligence, which may be very successful at its goal, and yet does not emulate a real intelligence. The second example of this is the Chinese room thought experiment, in which a machine, an AI, is placed in a little black box, its own room. Input is given to it in the form of sentences in Chinese, which should be translated into English, and this machine is given a program which can perfectly translate Chinese into English. Does this machine understand Chinese? To better think about this, the second half of the thought experiment goes that if you took the program that the machine was using to translate Chinese into English, and you laboriously wrote it down on pieces of paper in a way that humans could follow, humans could read, such that you had a however long, however complicated, but understandable sequence of steps which a human could use to translate any sentence in Chinese into English. And you then remove the machine from that room and you replace it with a human who has this program written in human readable form, this set of instructions. And now you give a sentence in Chinese to this individual who has replaced the machine. This human can then follow the set of instructions to turn the sentence in Chinese into a sentence in English by simply following the instructions they are given. No matter the amount of time it takes, the result will be a correct English sentence from Chinese. Can this individual who is following the program to make these translations be said to understand Chinese? Is the act of being able to follow the instruction set to correctly make these translations indicative of true understanding of Chinese? Well, it's possible that if the person conducted these translations for long enough, then they, as a human, would pick up on the cues, on the translations, and start to understand intuitively how to translate Chinese into English and to understand Chinese. But this is not the same thing. The thought experiment is asking, is the very act of translating Chinese to English this way itself indicative of an understanding of Chinese? And the outcome of this thought experiment would seem to indicate no, it is not. And the goal of this is to differentiate what it really means to understand something in a human way. And this is something which most certainly artificial intelligences in this day and age lack. You can see this when you look at how a machine learning algorithm breaks down the feature set of some data. The features which it comes up with, the items which, in a sense, in composite identify that data, do not necessarily correspond in any intuitive way from a human point of view to how we would describe reality. An example of this is face composition. If you have a machine learning algorithm that gets fed a huge set of data of all kinds of human faces from all around the globe, all ages, it will be able to understand to some extent what a human face is, and it will be able to pluck out features, that is to say, aspects of what makes a human face. And you could then tweak these, as some algorithms do, which generate human faces. But these features would not at all correspond to how we, as humans, might think of a face. We might think it has high cheekbones or low cheekbones. We might think it has light skin or dark skin. We might think it's flushed or it's wan. We might think it is thin or it is heavy set. We might think of the eye color. We might think of the ear shape. We might think of whether the face is more square or oval. None of these things will necessarily be represented in the parameters that the machine learning algorithm plucks out. Instead, if you play around with it, it'll look more like randomly shifting patterns in the face, which, when taken together, constitute different faces. This is nothing like the way we think of reality. We represent reality in our heads. And that is because we have let the machine create its own understanding of reality to the degree that it can be said to understand. And here we get into a murky, almost philosophical matter, which is relevant to the discipline of AI, but is not really applied in practice. And it's very difficult because we have a divergence, again, between our intellectual understanding of what an AI should be and the practical reality of what an AI is. What's missing is the cohesive, multidisciplinary view of artificial intelligence. It is not just a matter of computer science. It is not just a matter of mathematics. It is not just a matter of cognitive science. It is not just a matter of psychology. It is not just a matter of engineering. It is not just a matter of neuroscience. It is a matter of all of these things, and more. Philosophy, epistemology, biology. We may be benefiting ourselves or our institutions by creating AIs in this short-term, narrowly productive way. Certainly, the outcomes, if applied properly, can be very beneficial. But if we want to not only understand what an AI really is, not only reach the somewhat esoteric goal of producing a true artificial intelligence, but also have control and understanding over the very real AIs which are flooding into our daily lives, often behind the scenes, often subtly, often in ways we do not see, but nonetheless controlling decisions and influencing people in 1,000 ways, from financial decisions to college admissions to supply chain logistics to chat agents on someone's website to network routing and communications for internet or cellular, for filtering algorithms, for controlling what data gets seen on a social media feed, for determining what cars are available when you go to rent a car. In so many ways, these artificial intelligences play a role in our lives. And the more we can gain a comprehensive picture of how artificial intelligence ought to work, and think about what it means for an artificial intelligence to view reality, our reality, then we may actually stand a chance at stemming the tide of how AI is applied before it gets too out of hand. But we need to bridge that gap. We need to lend focus and funding into more broad and longer-term research. It may seem like a poor investment up front, but the long-term gains will be absolutely substantial, and it is almost guaranteed that there will be shorter-term benefits as well. The same way we see it from almost any vein of research, surprising discoveries that we never expected, that come out of these wild moonshots. But even if we didn't have these shorter-term gains, it would still be so important and so worth it. Because right now there's a bull in the China shop, but we're not paying any attention to the bull because it hasn't destroyed very much China yet. We have such a great opportunity to take many disciplines and bring them together in an important way that can help humanity. This is both a danger and an opportunity, a danger if we do not address it, and an opportunity at a personal level, at an organizational level, at a cultural level, if we do properly address this opportunity. And AI is only as good as its view of reality. And right now, we have completely divorced the practical use of AIs from an understanding of what they really are. They're just these tools that we know how to make, but not how to properly marshal. If we can get a good grasp on this, then our ability to use these AIs in 1,000,001 ways will grow exponentially.